Joining me now is Tammy Ben-Haim. She's Consul General of Israel here to South India. Appreciate your joining us, Tammy. There's a lot of concern at the moment over the nature of this Israeli offensive and what it could mean for civilians caught in the crossfire. That's the big concern at the moment. How do you respond to those who are saying that Israel is resorting to collective retribution of virtually all Palestinians for what happened, the dastardly attack that took place on the 7th of October?
One, thank you for having me. Second, I just want to point all the fingers that we should be pointing and asking these very important questions to a terror organization called Hamas. The attack on October 7th was a terror attack against Jewish and Israeli villages and towns. It was a massacre, killing, burning alive whole families, killing parents in front of their children, killing children in front of the parents, kidnapping over 200 babies. I'm talking babies, small children and women, the elderly, and other unarmed people, kidnapping them into Gaza, brutalizing them. As we're speaking at the moment, the Hamas terror attack is still going on. And why is it going on? Because one, they're still shooting rockets into Israel, into Israeli towns, into Israeli cities. Right 5 minutes ago, while I was waiting to get on your show, rockets were fired towards Jerusalem. The red alert went off in Jerusalem and into Tel Aviv. Jerusalem is one of the holiest cities, not just for the Jews, but for Christians and Muslims as well, and they're shooting rockets into it. Of course, it's also our biggest city population-wise, so think of what they're doing. So the Hamas terror attack is still going on, and the war Israel declared is specifically targeted at the Hamas. It's not against the Palestinian Authority, it's not against any civilians. It's against the Hamas terror organization. But the truth, ma'am, is
that just like Israeli babies you claim have been held hostage, the fact is Palestinian children and Palestinian civilians are also suffering heavy damage. The images now coming out of Gaza suggest that there are people who have nothing to do with Hamas who are also dying in the conflict. So that's where I come to. Is this now collective retribution for all Palestinians?
It's not collective retribution, because Hamas is a terror organization that targets babies and hides behind babies. The fact that they put their rocket launchers, and people know this, people could have spoken to Hamas about it a week ago or a year ago or 2 years ago. The whole world knows that Hamas puts its rocket launchers in kindergartens, that it hides its weapons storage in mosques, that they hide their commanders and command centers in hospitals. We all know this. This was known to the world a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, and nobody spoke up. Nobody went to the terror organization and told them, listen, you're holding almost 2 million people hostages. You're hiding behind civilians. Please get out of Gaza. Please try to help the population of Gaza. The whole world knew that Iran was funding and training and assisting Hamas for its sole aim of destroying Israel. The world knew that the Hamas was taking money and infrastructure given by the international community to help the civilians of Gaza. They took it to build terror tunnels. They took it to build their own infrastructure.
Till a few months ago, Mr. Netanyahu's government was seen almost to be using Hamas to take on the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. That there were reports that suggested that the government of Israel had actively at times encouraged a section of Hamas almost to pose it as a political rival to the Palestinian Authority. What happened on October 7th is horrific. No one denies that, ma'am. What is now happening appears to be a full-scale war in which millions of innocents could also become victims of what is happening. Is that what Israel wants? What does Israel really want?
Of course Israel doesn't want this, because Israel did not start this attack. And the attack did not just happen on October 7th. You yourself said 10 days. The terror attack has been continuing for 10 days because over 6,800 rockets are still being launched as we are speaking into Israel. As we are speaking, 200 babies, children, and women are being brutalized by Hamas. So the terror attack is still going on. And Israel cares for its populations, cares for its citizens. Israel will have to make sure, first and foremost, that Israel is back to being secure and safe. Secondly, we have to make sure these innocent people who were kidnapped are freed. And third, we need to make sure that such a terror attack, and maybe people misjudge Hamas. Maybe they thought they were moving from a terror organization into somebody who you may be able to discuss ruling the 2 million people they're in charge of, ruling them. Obviously, it was a mistake. Obviously, they don't care. They want to destroy Jewish lives, but they don't care about the lives of the people living in the territory that, by the way, Israel is not there. We haven't been in there for 18 years, except for, like you rightly said, 2009, 2014 for limited days. But these limited attacks apparently did not stop them. They gained strength, they gained weapons, and they're trying to kill us. So there's no really a question here what Israel must do.
Is there any possibility, though, of negotiating for the hostages release? In the past, the same Netanyahu government had negotiated for the life of one soldier. Is there a possibility, given that you all claim that there are over 100 hostages at least being held?
200.
200 is the number that is being given by some. We don't know the exact figure. 200 is what we are being officially told. Given that number, is the Israeli government willing to negotiate with Hamas, as Iran claims that end the hostilities and will hand over the hostages? Is that a possibility?
The Hamas at the moment is not even willing to talk to the Red Cross. They're not even willing to give information to the Red Cross. They're not willing to meet with the Red Cross. So if they're not willing to meet with this international organization, that one of their main purposes is to take care of kidnapped people, to see, that people were kidnapped under, they're not willing to speak to them. So I don't know where people are coming up with other ideas. You rightly said in the past, but Hamas can decide right now. Hamas can decide in an hour. Hamas can go and say, here, they're all freed. Stop firing at us, and then check what we do.
Let me get that clear. If Hamas does that, if Hamas says we are handing over you the hostages, will the firing stop? Will there be a cessation of hostilities? Or is the aim to completely dismantle Hamas, whatever it takes?
At the moment, I told you, we have three goals, right? Safety and security first to everybody, Israeli citizens, non-Israeli citizens, Jews, Arab, Muslims, Christians, everybody living in Israel need to be safe and secure again. We need to free the hostages, and we have to make sure Hamas is not able to launch such an attack again. Think about it. Think how many targets of Hamas infrastructure our Air Force has already struck. And despite that, they still have enough rockets to keep barrages onto the whole of Israel, into Tel Aviv, into Jerusalem, to the south part where they also, attacked on Saturday, the 7th of October. Think how many weapons they stored, how much money does it take, how much infrastructure, how much people power that they could have used for the people of Gaza. But they knowingly and deliberately for years stockpiled with an attempt to destroy. They never, they don't care about their people, and they don't do it. Just one more example. Israel already 24 hours ago told the people in North Gaza to please start moving to South Gaza. You know who stopped them? You know who put blockades on the road so these people won't go? The Hamas tried to stop the people, told them you should die as martyrs and stay, and tried to stop them from moving south. And another thing, people were saying that Gaza doesn't have water, doesn't have enough water. Israel today at 9 a.m. Israel time, which is 11:30 India time, opened the water flow into South Gaza. What we stopped, we're at war with the Hamas organization, and yet we're opening the water flow. I don't know what other country at war does that. We opened a humanitarian corridor. I don't know what other country does that without knowing anything about our hostages and without any claim for them being released. This is what we did this morning, because we are fighting Hamas. We're not fighting the people of Gaza. And war is horrible.
No, I take your point.
Is sad.
War is terrible. War is sad. Even so, an evacuation order asking refugees to leave within 24 hours, more than 1 million people being asked to leave Gaza. Many are suggesting that's a violation of human rights, of international law. What Israel is doing is actually, in a way, pushing the Palestinians into a situation where many people who are completely, as I said earlier, uninvolved with the war will also suffer. And is that what you want? Is that what you want? That you will have this large number of people being virtually forced out into what they already are calling an open prison?
To the south part, they can call it what they want to call it. But since 2005, and Hamas has had control of Gaza since 2007, you yourself said they had the Rafah crossing into Egypt. We had two corridors allowing international assistance and goods to come in on a daily basis. 18,000 people from Gaza daily came into Israel to work. So, they could, the Hamas terrorist organization can call what they want. Mm-hmm. They can show whatever pictures they want. They can now try to say that they're doing what they're doing. But the proof is on the ground. The proof is that IDF is telling them, please leave. We need to shoot down these rockets weapons. We need to shoot down this command center. There's a whole stockpile here of weapons we need to destroy. Please leave. So, and the Hamas, and by the way, many of the Hamas commanders mm-hmm. don't even live in Gaza. They live abroad, and they tell these women and children, no, stay and die.
Can I ask?
What other country opens water again because people are in need of water, and Hamas, that's mm-hmm. in charge of them, that is governing them, is not giving them water because they want them not to have water. So Israel is giving them water. This is the proof. 200, you're saying crimes against humanity, mm-hmm. kidnapping children, raping and brutalizing women as we are speaking now.
Can I ask you therefore?
Crime against humanity?
Can I therefore ask you in conclusion, what is the end game here? I mean, are we heading for a prolonged offensive, which could also involve other countries possibly in the region, given Iran, Lebanon's interests? The fact is the U.S. Secretary of State has been to several moderate Gulf states as well. None of them are openly condemning Hamas. Instead, they are calling for an end to Israeli strikes on Gaza.
Look, words aside and deeds aside, okay? Nobody except for the Iranian regime, who is also very, very clear about its goal for annihilating and destroying Israel. And they're, as I said, funding and helping Hamas. They're the main benefactor of Hamas, the same as Hezbollah in the north. Okay, nobody is helping Hamas or thinks they're not a terror organization. Hamas has been designated for years and years as a terrorist organization internationally. So Israel doesn't want war. I think we proved it again and again, and we proved it every time where we've suffered rockets and civilians have died mm-hmm. and infrastructure was ruined. And we've always retaliated, in a very limited form, hoping that Hamas will understand that we're serious, hoping that Hamas would understand that we don't want them attacking and to stop. But it's been going on for years, and this is not the first terror attack we're suffering. This is the most heinous one. This is the most gruesome one. This brings us back to days that we don't want to remember, about burning people alive and brutalizing young girls. And they're still doing it. So obviously, as I said, Israel doesn't want war. We're all praying for peace in the region. Our war is only at Hamas terror organization, okay. But we have to ensure our peace and security first and foremost.
Let me leave it there, Tammy. You've spoken very directly, and you've given us the sense of the Israeli government position. I appreciate you joining me here on the news today. Thank you very much for speaking out.
Thank you for your time.